love that it's all about winning.
That's good.
Awesome.
Winning goes
So check,
back.
we got the wagon back there, we got the goal sheet.
She even put stickers on it.
And it shows very crafty. Yeah, extra time and effort. I love that. So if I could get you to stand on the end line, don't cross the line. That's good. That's good.
I'm waiting for someone to say that.
That's good. I have to stay on script because some of it's funny and it's better if I don't look at you, so I'm going to stay on script.
I hear you.
It is a genuine honor to induct one of Cape Henry Collegiate's all-time best, Miss Kristen Wheeler, into the Cape Henry Collegiate Hall of Fame. Compiling 215 career wins, 5 conference titles, and 5 state championships over a 15-year coaching career is impressive by all measures. Selected as Conference Coach of the Year 4 times speaks of the respect she garnered from her peers. Setting the stage for players to go on to play at Duke, VCU, UVA, Stanford, and Louisville, just to name a few, has also been nothing short of phenomenal. Aside from all these remarkable resume highlights and professional achievements, which certainly puts her in a league of her own, the impact on the lives of the many student athletes she has coached goes far beyond the inline and championship banners. Honestly, many of the memories created from athletics is about the relationships we form from being a part of something bigger than ourselves. It is the reason most coach, and Coach Wheeler formed lifelong relationships with their players that extends far beyond the field hockey turf. In the fall of 2003, Coach Wheeler showed up in early August, pulling her Little Tykes wagon, stocked with practice equipment and, of course, a practice plan. My concern from afar, from the athletic training part, was that they were going to do arts and crafts. Given the look of that wagon, it looked like arts and crafts.
I like ours.
But I soon witnessed anything but. I think it started with time runs on the inline, and from there it is history. Coach Wheeler came into this program and turned an athletic group of female student athletes into champions. And as her Dolphin coaching career unfolded, those athletic females became even more stick savvy, the level of play escalated, and we were soon able to compete with any team who wanted to schedule us. She developed a program within our hallways, from the lower school through the upper school, that gained respect on our campus and across the state of Virginia. It is now very common to see our tiniest of students carrying field hockey sticks in their backpacks, waiting for an after-school program, a summer camp, or a clinic. And when I see this, it is obvious to me she pioneered the CAC field hockey program as one of Virginia's most respected premier high school teams. The many life lessons Coach Wheeler encouraged: working outside your comfort zone, being on time, no excuses, sharing the message of the geese formation as they flew over field hockey practice prior to an important postseason run. Quote, "If we have the sense of goose, we will stand by each other when things get rough. We will stay in formation with those headed where we want to go. It is a reward, a challenge, and a privilege to be a contributing member of a team," end quote. I bet there are many, many field hockey alum who see this formation from time to time and are reminded of a coach who made them very proud to be a member of a team. From the onset, Coach Wheeler's preparations for success and her persona of commitment and dedication followed her throughout her illustrious career. Once she set the tone for her teams being physically and mentally fit, her next move, as Blake mentioned, was to get the girls to the lead. She ushered her first team into the gym and pointed out something that was missing on our championship banner wall: a state championship title for any girls team in any sport. Since then, the field hockey team earned an incredible 5 state titles under her direction. This level of success did not come by chance. It came with a well-thought-out plan, a commitment to hard work. The first step is developing champions is to get them to believe in themselves, to get them to buy into the work necessary for success. These life skills are gifts cherished by former players. I personally want to thank Coach Wheeler for her many years of dedication to Dolphin field hockey. It has truly been a lot of fun working with you, and always an adrenaline rush as we headed into postseason play year after year. The program's reputation is well respected across the area, and you handed over the coaching baton with grace and dignity to Coach Kate Kinnear and Kim Doran, leaving the program in a great position to continue on a successful path. I also know that all of this did not come without much personal sacrifice and support of the Wheeler family. Thank you, Johnny, Hope, Kylie, Suzanne, Howard, for all the time and the minutes and the 15 years that we've had to spend with Kristen. Thank you. with her should a meeting not go well. A meeting with a parent who had some issues to share. Those meetings are fun. Later that morning, she called and asked if I could join the two of them. I made my way over to her office with some well-thought-out strategies to help as best I could. Maybe some ideas to get, to work on the girls' speed, agility, her skill set, just something to help Kristen, the mom, and most importantly, the student athlete. As I entered the room, I could see the mood wasn't great, and this parent was on the offensive side of the argument. Before I could sit down, the mom said, "Well, I'm not sure you're going to help, since everyone knows the two of you played on the national team and you're best friends." Neither of us corrected her because I was flattered. And since then, we have chuckled about memories of traveling abroad playing on the national team.
Those were the days.
Well, BFF, it is my sincere honor and privilege to induct you tonight into the Cape Henry Collegiate Hall of Fame. This honor is so completely well-earned and deserved.
Thank you.
Okay. Whew. Thank you, Jeanne. I'm going to try to move this again because I'm tall and it's hard to, I don't want to hunch down the whole time like Pete did. Pete did a good job hunching, but I don't think I can do that. I'm too old for that. Thank you, Jeanne. Thank you, CHC Alumni Association, Athletic Hall of Fame Committee, Development Office for once again putting together an awesome event, and I know what goes into putting on these events, so thank you for your time. And speaking of development, I would definitely like to thank Julie Scherer, who's hiding back there behind the water and the juice. And mostly I would like to thank Julie for having 3 amazing athletic daughters, 2 of whom played field hockey.
You never mentioned her dad back then.
But really what I was going to say is really I should be thanking Kevin for the athleticism that he passed along to those 3 amazing athletic daughters. But in all seriousness, I appreciate the fact that Julie believed in me and brought me into the development world, where I was able to work with Cape Henry's amazing alumni. I enjoyed working with them, getting to know them, becoming friends with them, and many of whom are here tonight, and I appreciate that. Speaking of being here tonight, I am happy to share this occasion with all our fellow inductees. This is a great class, and personally, I really enjoy listening to your stories. So don't worry about the time you spend talking, because I like to hear your story. I know that all of us are happy to be here tonight, but I think that we would all agree that none of us would be here without the help and the support and the guidance of a whole lot of other people that surrounded us. I know that I'm grateful for the support that I've had. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my family, who I'm going to try not to look at because I'm going to try not to be emotional. But my husband, Johnny, who when we very first met, he encouraged me to apply for a college coaching position, which I ended up not doing, by the way, but he encouraged me to apply for it. He's always been my #1 fan. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for loving sports, because that was really important. Thank you for loving the teams that I coached. We have spent plenty of nights at home crafting our greatest CHC All-Star Field Hockey team and debating about who would play what position and why, and I see you're laughing, but I'm being really serious. I spent a lot of time talking about this, and it's fun because we enjoy that. My parents, who have supported me for so many years as a player and a coach, a really long time, but I won't say how many years. My dad was one of my very first coaches, and he always, I can't look at him, he always encouraged all of his players to go for it, which definitely inspired me to then tell my players that aggressive mistakes are okay, but passive mistakes are not okay. My mom, would always just tell me that I was her favorite player on the field, regardless of how I played or how the team did. I appreciate that. And Kylie, I'm sorry that I haven't mastered that skill to just say that, because that was a really wonderful thing. And to my girls, Hope and Kylie, who literally grew up on the athletic fields here at Cape Henry, thank you for handling having Coach Wheeler as your mom with such grace, because I know that was not always easy. I was very fortunate to have coached Hope throughout her upper school experience, and I'm really fortunate and looking forward to having the same experience coaching Kylie, although at a different school. I was actually pregnant with Kylie during my very first year at Cape Henry, which Blake mentioned earlier. That year that we won the very first ever girls state title, which was a big deal for us and for the school, and I'll never forget it, ever, as long as I live. Ironically, Lindsay Franz was a senior that year and Devin Nash was a sophomore, and in a blink of an eye, Lindsay Franz became Kylie's 7th grade English teacher, and Devin Nash is now Kylie's lacrosse coach. So how that happens, I don't know, but it's amazing, and I'm very thankful for it. I'm very grateful that fate matched me at Cape Henry Collegiate. I had been at Norfolk Collegiate for just over a year when I got a call from CHC. They had an unexpected opening in their athletic department, in their PE department, and they were wondering if I would be interested in the job. I'll never forget my interview with the head of the lower school at the time, Mrs. Ann Freeman. You remember her? She was also in charge of the PE department, and her reputation definitely preceded her, and I was definitely nervous going into that interview. And I was sitting in the room across the desk from her, and she was looking at my resume, and at the time I had been teaching and coaching for 7 years. I had coached 4 different sports. I had my master's degree in education. I did a stint with the 1996 Olympic team down in Atlanta. So I'm sitting there wondering what kind of question she's going to ask me, and hoping that I'm prepared to answer it. And she looks up and she says, "So, I see that you played field hockey for Nancy Folks. I guess you can do just about anything." For those of you who don't know, Nancy Folks was the legendary Cox coach. That's where I graduated from high school, and I played hockey for Nancy, which was not easy to do. And when Ann Freeman said, "I guess you can do just about anything," I said, "Well, does that mean I have the job? Is that settled? Are we good here?" But I actually had a final part of my interview, and that involved meeting the new head of school at the time, Dr. Jack Lewis. And during my time with him, I was interviewing for a teaching position, not necessarily a coaching position. This was for a position in PE. And Jack was smart, very savvy. And I remember him looking at me and he said, "Are you going to be satisfied coaching a middle school team?" And I looked at him, and very bravely, maybe a little stupidly, I said, "I'm a varsity coach." And a couple days later, he hired me for that position to teach PE, and shortly after that, I accepted the role as the new varsity field hockey coach at Cape Henry. Because aggressive mistakes are okay, but passive mistakes are not. With my new position came new relationships and friendships that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Jeanne Short was the athletic trainer at the time. There she is over there. She quickly became my first friend and affectionately known as my BFF ever since, which she shared that story with you, which I had forgotten, and it was pretty funny, but it's so true. I'll never forget walking out to the field hockey field on my very first day of summer practice. The soccer team had already started practicing, and I felt like all eyes were on me as I was wheeling out my little Tykes wagon out to the field, because I did carry what I now will call my arts and crafts wagon, but at the time it had balls and cones in it, so I didn't think it was an arts and crafts wagon. But I definitely felt under the microscope and a little uncomfortable, and I'll never forget Jeanne leading her conversation with Jay Maisel and Leroy Wilson and driving over to me on the gator and coming up and saying, "Hey, do you need any help?" And in that moment, I was like so thankful that someone had reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm here to help you. I'm your friend. Do you need anything?" So I appreciate that, and I've never forgotten it. I remember watching Ed Faubert in his quiet, behind-the-scenes way take care of a million little details that helped make Cape Henry raise the bar in quality. I remember him telling me one day how important our role is when we host opposing teams, that it's our job to greet them, to tell them where the bathroom is, to ask them if they need anything, to make them feel comfortable. And meanwhile, all I was thinking about was how to beat them. And I was also thinking, you already made your first mistake by getting off the bus. But there was Ed forever being that steady beacon of sportsmanship and reminding me to put first things first. And I learned, greet them and then beat them. So thank you, Ed, I appreciate that. I also remember Alice Meredith meeting with me to give me the history of the Cape Henry Field Hockey Program, and in that meeting she kept saying over and over again, this is going to be great, this is going to be great. And as I reflect on that now, I sometimes wonder if she was trying to convince herself that this is going to be great. But I remember at the time thinking, gosh, I hope I don't disappoint her. She's so into this. I really hope I don't disappoint her. I knew right at the beginning that CHC was the place I was meant to be. I was excited to be a part of a school that truly believed in the importance of athletics. Coaching was valued and respected here, and I was really excited to be a part of it. I felt very privileged to be surrounded by accomplished colleagues. I've always tried to listen, observe, and mimic as much as I could from the people I worked with. I used to hang on Dave Cameron's every word, using his lessons from geese more than once, which Jeanne definitely referred to in her speech. And I still get the chills every time I hear Herb Brooks say, great moments are born from great opportunity. And Dave is shaking his head because he shared that speech with me, and I definitely used it more than once with my hockey teams over the years. Some of my best lunch moments were spent with Coach Effner, trying to pull out as much information as I could from him, and he is a man of few words if you've ever had a chance to talk with him, especially when he's trying to shovel some food in his mouth during a very short lunch break. But I always enjoyed talking with him. And then later I loved it when Tyler, who's now an assistant AD, by the way, congratulations. When I had a chance to talk to Tyler, I just loved it. Those were really special moments for me, so thank you. I spent hours with Charlie Lonergan around the fire pit. Mostly we were just trying to up each other on crazy stories about parents or reliving the glory days from big wins. And I always enjoyed Coach Hall stopping by my office to talk shop, or much later when Ashmore would swing by and ask for coaching advice. I love that. One of my favorite things is when Robert Woodhouse will yell coach when I walk down the hallway. I'm sorry Robert's not here tonight. Grateful for Tracy Pinkin, who worked very hard to keep our athletes on the field, and for Beverly Chenet for organizing so many logistics behind the scenes. And to all of our middle school and JV coaches who pitched in over the years, most notably Sarah Joseph, who has a real gift for working with the younger kids, and I greatly appreciate everything you did for our program. Some additional fun coaching moment memories are clinics with Tiki Barber, who's now the head coach, which is amazing. And I know all the men in there, they're all looking at me like, Tiki Barber, that's a football player. No, actually, Tiki Barber is a field hockey player who played at North Carolina, and I'll explain all that later. But anyway, she's the new head coach now, and she's amazing. Justine Sowery, who used to join us for practices every now and then, and she's the head coach of Louisville now, and one of my best friend's daughter plays for her. But most notably to me was when the legendary Beth Anders, you know who Beth Anders is? Was the head coach for ODU for many years, won about 1 billion NCAA titles. Anyway, she came out to work with us in a very specific game plan. And to me, that was like a highlight of my coaching career. And when I reflect on that, I'm very proud to think that so many people who have such clout in the field hockey community were willing to come to Cape Henry and get their hands dirty with us because they respected our program and wanted a little piece of being a part of it. I've been lucky to have some amazing people on the sideline with me over the years. Willie Fluharty, who texted me earlier and said he couldn't be here, but he used to stop by my office all the time and like to talk shop, but really all Willie was doing was telling me all the things I was doing wrong. And so finally I just looked at him one day and said, put your money where your mouth is and come join me on the sideline. I'm tired of listening to you. which he did, and he coached with me for 5 years, and we ended up winning 2 state titles and 2 TCIS titles when he worked with me. And to Kim Dorn, who coached with me during my final 3 years here at Cape Henry. Kim, you are an absolute rock star. I'm really proud that I got to share the sideline with you for the last 3 years, and I'm going to try not to look at you anymore. That's how it goes so far. You're a true professional, and I think that, well, I know that you think of every detail necessary to keep the wheels on the bus, especially in those final few weeks of the season where it gets a little bit rocky. Thank you for making my last season at Cape Henry play out like a storybook. Winnings, bookends, state championships, and my first and last year was pretty amazing. Could have never scripted it that way, and I'm thankful that you were there to help make that happen. But mostly I'm grateful for the players, all of them, from our role players to our eventual college superstars, all of those young women who were brave enough to give field hockey a try. It's not an easy sport. It takes incredible fitness and finesse. And Coach Wheeler was never called Coach Nice, like my buddy Mark Weiss, who I thought was going to be here tonight, but I don't see him. Hockey is played outside in the oppressive heat of summer. Fall is the longest season. It ends in the bitter cold. We never believed in days off. Girls knew that they had to be completely dedicated, and there was never any guarantee of playing time. Feedback would always be critically honest. Practices would be grueling, and the dreaded time runs were always looming. And yet they kept coming back. One spring season during the pinnacle of the program and before the takeover of club sports, we had more than 100 Cape Henry girls wearing Cape Henry field hockey t-shirts playing in the Virginia Beach Hockey League. And that was probably my proudest moment. We had teams in the Pee Wee division, which is 5 and 6 year olds, all the way up to seniors in high school. Talk about a pipeline of talent. Some of those players were literally teammates for more than 10 years. But eventually the lure of club and travel play chipped away at a really special homegrown pipeline of talent that we had built. Sometimes I'm asked if I have any regrets looking back, and my answer is yes. I regret that I was never able to master the casual sideline demeanor of Coach Brunn. And I'm also sad that I was never able to be quite as funny as he was during the fall sports banquets, but I don't think anyone could ever be. But in all seriousness, I do have a little feeling of disappointment, and that's when I think back to any of the girls who decided not to play hockey all the way through their senior year. And I think back and I go, if I could just rewind time a little bit, could I have said something different? Could I have done something different that would have kept them on the hockey field all the way to the end? So cheers to the memories, the fans, the wins, the celebrations, the dog piles, the stories, the laughs, the relationships that have lasted well beyond the final game. And while I hope that the players have learned something from me during their time, I can 100% tell you that I learned so much from them. Notably, the importance of being teamy from Maddie Spear, and the power of a pregame huddle dance from Jamie Friedman. Y'all don't laugh, but if you had seen her dance, you would have laughed. Now, more than 15 years later, I feel honored to say that I was a small part of it. It being the incredible athletic program and the dynasty that helps define Cape Henry Collegiate. This is an incredible school filled with amazing academics, arts, global education, literally opportunities down every hallway. But there is something special and defining about athletics. A winning athletic program that is built on integrity in class will always help fill the seats in admissions and the coffers in development. I hope that Cape Henry continues to value and place the importance of being the best athletically, not just good, but the best, because there is a difference, and I'm proud to have been a part of it. Thank you.
No, you don't have to. Hold on.